What we witnessed today is a global meltdown. We can term it Black Monday. I think it's similar to Black Monday 1987. We saw a meltdown on the global financial markets. What this entails on the African continent, we yet to see. But the tariffs that have been unleashed by Donald Trump are causing mayhem on the global markets. So what this means for Africa is for economists and strategists to decipher and see what's the way forward.
Welcome to Champions Network TV, ladies and gentlemen. Today the discussion is critical. The market meltdown that are caused by financial tariffs by the US, and we are going to look into the implication of this to Africa. My name is Meja. I will be hosting this historic discussion. And to guide us through this, we have got none other than Shumba, who is a geopolitical analyst, interested more into the financial analysis, and this is the topic that is at his heart. And I give to you, Shumba.
Maswera semisha.
Sitaswera edumushes. Kwaswera sei kwenyuka?
Aiwa kwedu kuri nani?
Amenoka
sei mana yenyu.
Kumana kwedu kuno kwedu ku East London kuno kwenge kuri right. I think we just witnessed one of the key milestone events. Or I think if you know Shumba Tineri Wizi Runonzi Thames.
Yeah, I know Thames.
And the Thames munoziva kuti tinorubira kana tichibva kumusoro kubva kuLondon kuti tichidzika tinodira nemabridge tozopedzera tosvika kuna London Bridge, and the bridge rekupedzisira tasvika nepa Tower Bridge, the monumental one, which is also a tourist attraction. Tabva ikoko tinoenda taamuma-tunnels.
Okay.
And the major of these tunnels is the Blackwall Tunnel, which was built a long time ago. Really free. As you know, that we built up of traffic. Vakachivaka imwe tunnel paside inonzi Silver Tunnel.
Okay.
Saka Silver Tunnel inobhadharwa kuriyambuka. At the peak, munenge muchibhadhara ma $4. $4 each direction.
Wow.
Saka izvozvo manje, what it means ndezvekuti izvo is vanhu vearea kuno kunana East London kana takubira kuenda kuWest London zvakuti the only free crossing tisati tazoenda kuDartford, the major one. I think vazhinji vanoziva Dartford. Iferi. Saka ndambodarika nekuferi ikoko nhasi, saka ndoda kuti ndingokurakidzai kuti how busy the ferry is now. This is the ferry now. Kuti munozwa kuti imota dzakamirira ku.
This is the queue going to the ferry. I think this is the impact of Silver Town opening today. Now being paid at $4 a crossing. Normal vehicles.
Apa ndinge ndichifamba ndichiteedza mota baba. Ndichienda kunokwira feri racho ini.
Makwira feri saka ine richicrossa Thames futi.
rinenge saka rinoita pane maferi two anocrossa Thames.
Okay.
Westbound.
Saka isusu apa tinge tichienda westbound kunenge kuchinenge chiuyo eastbound, saka queue yacho izvinezvi wakutofanira kukasira kuenda because otherwise zvakutoincreasa journey time yako.
Wow.
Saka ndo major zvaitika kuno ku East London kuno Shumba.
Okay.
Amene kwenyu ku Manchester kuti kwenyu kwakamira sei?
Aiwa, kwedu kuri nani. We have ours is some good news actually, because we have this place called the Co-op Life. Ameno kana makambonzwa inonzi O2 Arena.
Yeah, O2 Arena isusu tinayo kunoku ku London.
Ndo yakaitika, if you remember the Manchester bombing yakaitika, that tragedy. Ndo yakaitikira pa O2 Arena.
All right.
Yeah, because it's just a venue where they do boxing. When you have like when Floyd Mayweather wakauya kuno akanzi ari kuita fight, normally it was the O2 Arena where they would go to. So that day, I think when we had that terrorist bombing, Pepa ina, what's her name? Ariana Grande. This young singer was there. After the music, that's when that bomb exploded and it killed a number of people. Saka, we have got another part now, that is another venue that has been built in on the Co-op Life. It's near Manchester City Stadium.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's massive, and kana muchida kuzombotiwo musama munomu, because it's very busy during summer. So you've got all these big entertainment musicians, especially music. It will be the big thing during summer. So they attract all these big names from all over the world. So mukazongo anonguwa munongodimbudzira muchiuya muchimbofara muchiona what's happening here in Manchester. But otherwise, that's our piece of good news on this in this northern direction of yours.
Yeah, no, I think mukatipa manhengerekene let's say kana kune kana link yekuti unogona kuona kuti ma events ariko ndaapi chichichi tinotsvagawo vamwe kuno kutoya takavanhekenda kuna nzvimbo dzekufara dzinofara kana makawanda munewo waunozotaura nyaya yenayo kuti takasvika tikaona chakati gore riya ndizvo.
I'll give you the link mongoisawo kune vateereri vanenge vachidawo kuzongoshanya. I'll give you the link moisa pabottom of the channel.
Yeah, okay. Let's come back to our discussion of the day. I think I've just given the title to say today we are going to discuss the financial meltdown caused by the widespread tariff by the US administration. And can you take us through some of these things, and particularly what will be the implication to Africa?
Yeah, so I think when Trump came for his first term, I think he didn't do what he wanted to do, because I think the deep state, which he has always railed against, they made sure his hands were tied. So what did they do to him when he came first term? They actually recommended people to work with him. So he had no room for maneuver. So that defeat by Joe Biden, when he was supposed to go for his second term, actually worked in his favor. Because when he went back and regathered his thoughts and strategy, Then he realized this is how he is going to come back, how he's going to defeat the deep state, how he's going to push forward his own agenda. So that's exactly where we are. So what you'll find is when Trump realized he could win, he started assembling his team. He assembled a new team that was not controlled by the deep state. So these are the people that now surround him. And most of them are these, what we call the guys who are mainly driven by technology. So you've got the Jeff Bezos, you've got Elon Musk, you've got David Sachs, you've got Peter Thiel. Actually, they use the name PayPal Mafia, some of the guys who are surrounding Trump. So they believe in techno-feudalism. When we talk of techno-feudalism, it's just the old type of feudalism whereby you had these landlords controlling the ordinary people through land. But these guys now, they are controlling ordinary people like us through technology, through our mobile phones. Amazon, we are always shopping on Amazon. And then Twitter, we are always there with Elon Musk. And then there are a whole host of platforms, because the world we are going into now is more controlled by platforms. So this is what we always encourage to Africa to say, we need to develop similar platforms, because whoever owns these platforms has got has got an upper hand in how the world runs. So you find the threat, this competition of these platforms, the only competition that Europe has got no platform on its own. The major platforms we have is the US, and then their biggest rival is China. China has now come up with TikTok. They've come with AliExpress. They've got their own version of Google, because China foresaw all these things long time when Google was being born, Facebook was being born, and they banned all these platforms in China. So they've got their own versions of these platforms. And these platforms are the ones that drive the motion today, because we are hooked to them. So most of the time we are spending time on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we are always engaged. The algorithms that run these platforms, they make sure we are always engaged. That's why Mija was telling you that human beings of now, they've got a short concentration span, because we are always hooked we are always watching a 1 minute video, a 2 minute video, because that's the world we are going into. And we are being sold things. We are a consumer environment. So that's in a brief narration. That's the world we are going into. So what has happened now?
I just wanted to I think you repeatedly come up with the term deep state. Just in a short, can you elaborate on that so that our viewers can understand what a deep state is?
A deep state normally pertains to, when we talk of statecraft, like the building up of a state, there are certain people that we don't see who actually run the country. They become like the very influential people behind the scenes, who actually, when you see like Obama or whoever, when Obama is sitting there, he cannot say much. They direct him on how to act. So you've got people like in America, you take institutions like the FBI, you take institutions like the the CIA, you take institutions like the Department of Justice, which is the DOJ. So depending on who is running those things, if the president is not as powerful enough or has got that strength, these people are actually the ones that drive the policy. They will be telling the president, we are doing this, we are doing this. So unless you've got someone who shatters that bureaucracy, it's more of a bureaucratic state that controls, but it has got so much power on the whoever is who you perceive as the president. They can tell the president. But what Trump has done now is, in his first term, you had these people like who were given to him. You had his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. He's from the deep state, because they already know the deep state to say, oh, Trump is going to cause us problems. So let's push Mike Pompeo to be the Secretary of State. So when you had Obama, you had Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State. I think Obama was reluctant to go to Libya, to bomb Libya. But the power that's coming through the Secretary of State, through the Pentagon, through a department, sort of forced Obama his hand to go after Libya. So those are the things that we are talking about. And Trump has studied that his first term was ineffective, because these guys actually were holding him so that he had no free will. You had his national security advisor at that time was the guy called, what's his name? His second name is Bolton. He's a war hawk. So he was actually directing his sort of foreign policy. And then they fell out. And I think when he came back, he said, no more, I'm not going to do that. So we are seeing an unhinged Trump doing his own thing. So God have mercy on us, because the ride is really getting bumpy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that elaboration. You can go on to the next step where you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so the world where we are now, when Trump came in now, I think he feels like the world has been manipulating the US. I tend to disagree with him on the world taking advantage of America. In fact, I think the world's economy is well balanced, and it's balanced in favor of America, because he's talking about American jobs going overseas. But what he forgets is America left the manufacturing of cheap products. America now manufactures the high-end goods. Like if you look, they are the biggest manufacturer of passenger aircraft with Boeing. And how much does a passenger jet costs? So there isn't much competition there. Their only competition is Airbus in Europe. And China has started producing, but before there was no one rivaling Boeing. So that's what he doesn't accept, that he doesn't understand that the law, there's no way America is going to make some of the things that are being made in China, because the cost basis in Asia, you've got cheap labor. In America, you're not going to be able to reproduce, but he's yet to be convinced, and he's there to say America needs to bring back the jobs. And like we said in our previous chart, that the problem now is we have got two great powers vying for control of the world. America sees China as wanting to supplant its hegemonic control of the world. So that's where the problem is. So I think this is coordinated attack. And if you can see how he's going head on against China, it just shows the world where we are going. If China doesn't relent and also puts up its ante to say we're not going to take any nonsense from you, then God help us, because trade wars can turn into hot wars. So we will just watch this space and see how it plans out.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think as you rightfully mentioned, it's now this trade war can actually end up in a actual physical war, or we can end up into it can start as Cold War, and if it is not winning, then they can just find some neutral ground where they can just start a war over it's uranium in another country, or lithium in our country.
Yeah, and it could be Taiwan. My best bet, it could be Taiwan. So that Cold War can turn into a hot war very quickly. So that's basically where we are. So if you can show that tweet that he tweeted today.
Yeah, let me. This is the tweet from Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tweet, which says we have massive financial deficits with China, the European Union, and the many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with the tariffs, which are now bringing tens of billions of dollars into the USA. They are already in effect, and a beautiful thing to behold. The surplus with these countries has grown during the presidency of Sleepy Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe Biden. We are going to reverse it and reverse it quickly. Someday people will realize that tariffs for the United States of America are a very beautiful thing. Donald Trump did on his Truth social media.
Yeah,
that was on last Friday.
Yeah. So you can see the man is not relenting. he's blaming Sleepy Joe for but it's not even Sleepy Joe. He's the first president to do it maybe after 100 years. So it's not even if this is an effective policy. It's not only Sleepy Joe who should be blamed for it.
So it must be Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Obama,
Sleepy George Bush, Sleepy Clinton, George Bush, Sleepy Clinton. The list goes on,
It goes on and on.
Yeah. So, yeah, the man is on a mission. He doesn't care whether the Wall Street is crying, everyone is crying, but the man is not relenting. So I think we're just witnessing the beginning of something really interesting. So with his policies, he's really crashed the markets. So
then we go to the next one. This is what you wanted to show.
Yeah.
This is the next one.
Yeah, so
that's the Black Monday.
Yeah, so today is Black Monday. The last Black Monday with a crash like this is 1987. So I think the markets were down. The S&P was down quite a lot today. So you can see it by the picture. These are the guys in Wall Street. They don't know what's hitting them. Because I think by today, I think over 5 trillion had been lost on global markets.
And And also I was reading in today's Metro. If we had a look at it to say that Trump and Elon Musk, they tend to be colliding on this tariff.
Yeah, of course. Because even Tesla, because Tesla is a listed company in America, it took a hit. No one was spared. So I think even it's hitting Elon in the pocket, So
yeah.
I saw some big, even on Twitter, I saw some big people who were very happy when Trump came in, because they didn't want Kamala Harris because they said she doesn't know business. She's more of talking of socialist policies, which means taking money from the rich to give to the poor. So they were happy actually when Donald Trump came in, but some of them are having second thoughts because their pockets are being hit now. Yeah.
And I saw also on the YouTube, and I think that there's a widespread demonstrations in America anti-Trump.
Yeah, because what's happening now with Elon, with his Doge, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, which is cutting down the number of federal workers, and also sort of removing some jobs that he feels are not necessary. He's fired a lot of workers. So all those people have got no jobs, and most of them are feeling like this is against the principles, because they feel like most of these things are not being done according to the law, because Trump is just using these emergency state powers. It's not like going through Congress or being debated in Congress. The guy has just seen a loophole. For the first, I think the first, they said already is issued over 200, I think, emergent powers legislation is pushed through to push his agenda. These range from border control to these tariffs to nearly everything, deportation of illegal aliens, and even using foreign jails, where he's sending all those criminals to El Salvador. He's just using the president's Emergent Act. So a lot of people are feeling the pain now, and that's why these demonstrations are happening. But I don't think Trump is relenting. So we'll see how it all ends.
And if the sources within the White House official, they were actually muting that chances are Elon Musk might be relieved of his duties.
I think he might not even be relieved. I think it's him feeling the pressure himself. I think they are on a collision course. Because one, if you look at Elon Musk, I think if you put the next headline, that's where the next headline that I was looking at today, that shows where they are heading for collision course with Elon Musk. So you can see, because China yesterday, it retaliated after Trump announced these tariffs on China. Instead of China saying they will negotiate, because what Trump wants is someone who will come to his Mar-a-Lago in Florida and bend on their knees to say, forgive us, what can we do? I think our Zimbabwean president has already done that, to say we have opened the doors for American goods to get into Zimbabwe. So maybe you get a relief from Trump. But for China's also retaliated with I think 34% tariffs yesterday. So Trump is doubling down now. He's threatening China with 50% tariffs. So I don't know what China is going to do, but this is going to be very, for Elon Musk, this is not good news, because majority of his cars are manufactured in China, the Teslas. So imagine all those Teslas coming from China trying to get into the United States. Already, I think he had imposed, what tariffs was it, 48% previously. So if he puts another 50%, you're talking of 98% tariffs on the Teslas coming into America. So for Elon Musk, that's going to be painful. So I think that's where they are going to. There's going to be a friction between Trump and Elon Musk. So that's how things always play. Elon thought things are going to work. He jumped on board, but I think he's realizing this is coming to bite him.
And now let's come to the second question. That's we have discussed the meltdown and the global implication. What is the implication particular to Africa?
Yeah, the implications to Africa. Africa can take this as an opportunity, really, if you look at it. That's why we were advocating inter-African trade. I think it's something that needs to be really pushed hard, because when others are erecting these walls, we can open the walls within Africa so that there is ease of trade amongst us. Because whilst the world is erecting these barriers, it can be an opportunity for Africa to dismantle the barriers within the continent and trade amongst each other. Because sometimes some of the markets that we used to have now are going to be shut down. And with a population, Africa with a population of 1.4 billion people, that's an opportunity to say if we put our barriers down and trade amongst ourselves, that will be an opportunity. And as well, I think it's an opportunity for African countries, because sometimes this free trade that is promoted, it's quite harmful to African countries. We have got young industries that cannot compete with the global multinationals. So if Trump is doing what he's doing, it gives us also an opportunity to erect those walls so that we can protect our young industries. Because for example, we're starting to have chicken coming from Brazil, which is cheaper than our local chicken. Chicken comes from America, which is cheaper than our local chicken. So what do? Trump has given us a blessing. We say, oh, because you have erected these barriers, we are also erecting these barriers. We're not going to allow chickens from Brazil. We're not going to allow chickens from the US. And then we promote local production of our own chicken. That's also increasing your food security. The dangers that I see now with Africa, if we don't open our eyes to what's going on, is we just gonna accept whatever Trump says we should do, and when we could have taken an advantage, or this has been our opportunity to also play a game that is advantageous to us. So we'll see how it goes, but it's a learning curve for us to see, to take advantage of. There are positives and negatives that are coming. The main negative I get from this is now you've got two great powers in a Cold War. And when you have these big elephants fighting, we will be forced to choose a side. Either America will say, you go with us. If you don't go with us, there'll be financial sanctions to come your way, like we spoke about South Africa yesterday. Or China will also name its price for for not going with China. So we are caught in that battle between the two giants. So as a small country like Zimbabwe or all the small countries in Africa, what you don't know is who is going to win that fight. So you don't want to be betting on the wrong horse. I think sometimes neutrality is the game you can play. So you need your very clever minds to be on the table to advise you in this instance, because you don't know whether China will eventually win or the US will win. So it's a game of dice, really. It can go either way. But if America wins and you had betted on China, you know your next 100 years are going to be miserable, or your next 50 years. So you need, that's why Mija, I don't know kana makambokura muchifudza mombe kana mbudzi. Isaiti kana chifudza mombe kapakaita mabhuru chaiwo, pane mabhuru ekuti kana atanga kurwa taikwira mumuti. Because you know, if one of them is defeated, it will seek shelter from you. Yeah. So we learn from nature these games. So
even our instinct when so you find out there were some things that we used to games kwataitamba, so tinongorakidza kunhengerekena kuti zvii zviri kuitika ipapa handiti vari kudenhana ka unzi iri nderamai wako, iri nderamai wako.
Yeah.
So I was interested to find out why did Trump decide to slap with different tariffs to different nations in Africa, and the highest, the worst hit one is the smallest, with the small without much economy, Lesotho, with 50%.
Yeah, because they've, apparently they did this long time before they came. There's actually a formula for it, believe you me not. There's a formula for it. It's only that I haven't got time to search it now. But I saw a formula dedicated to that. Maybe in the next episode we can show that formula. It's a mathematical formula they used.
All right. So I was just keen to know what to come up with the Lesotho 50%. Zimbabwe, I think we are at 30 something. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, there was a formula. Let me see if I can find
31.
it.
We are at 31%.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe is at 31%.
Okay. Yeah, I think I found it. Let me just quickly send it to you. The formula that they used. Okay. Yeah, there was a formula they actually used to
calculate.
To calculate. Yeah, I've sent it to you if you can.
I think it is still on the way, I think. Did you send it on the WhatsApp?
No, in the comments in our chat here.
In our chat. Okay, let's see. In our chat, you didn't. I can't see.
You can't see it.
I can't see it in the.
Okay, let me send it on WhatsApp. Right, I've sent it on WhatsApp.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the formula they've been using to arrive at those percentages. So it's not something that they are just plucking through thin air, you know. There are some mathematicians behind that, very clever mathematicians.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the good thing of also appreciating people with knowledge within your community. That's why I was talking about when you have instances like this, you need your best brains on the table, you know.
Yeah.
This is why, you know, before when we talk about sanctions on Zimbabwe, I was saying, as soon as Zimbabwe got those sanctions, we were supposed to see it as a Cold War or a hot war. It was a declaration of war. And then you bring your biggest guns on the table to counter those sanctions. But it never happened. All we just do is just whinge and cry and demonstrate. You need your best brains on the table to fight back against some of these things.
So do you think at this juncture, Africa needed to bring our best brains to respond to these tariffs from America?
Yeah, that would be my hope. But I know with our kind of politics, it never happens. You know.
Because already different countries are responding differently. Like Zimbabwe,
already.
Have already put a red carpet to Trump.
We never look at these things collectively, because like now we could be expecting that SADC would have a single response to say let's respond as a block, because you know what Mr. Makabaya from Uganda said the other day.
Yeah.
I think if we expect Africa to speak with one voice, I think it's stretching it too far. The best we can have is start on a regional block basis, right? So we've got our SADC, we've got East Africa, we've got West Africa, ECOWAS, East Africa Community, SADC. SADC, we sort of see things in a similar manner. So we can sit down, the leaders can sit down and say, what is our response going to be to Trump's tariffs? And all the countries, they feed in and they come up with a sort of a unified position, and then they respond. They can respond on an individual basis, but they are all responding almost on a similar basis, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, they can agree. This is the response you are going. If you are going to put up a counter tariff, we are all going to put a counter tariff.
Counter tariff.
If we are going to negotiate, we are all going to negotiate.
Yeah.
If we are going to put a red carpet, we are all going to give a red carpet.
Exactly. So because once we keep on being divided, it's easier for them to just pick the weakest link among us. Imagine like if Botswana or Lesotho, I think the hardest hit has been Lesotho. I don't even know what they export to the US, to be honest.
Yeah,
so it's a clothing.
They do a lot of garments.
Okay.
And I think they a trade agreement with the America that they will export to America duty free.
Okay.
So that America was their
main
trading partner.
Wow.
I think because of that free trade, maybe they might have been some quotas and everything. So they don't have any other left to export to anywhere. So they were only producing for America.
Yeah.
Now
so
they are
you
slapped
see,
with.
Yeah. So this is the problem, that your eggs were all in one basket and you wake up, it's all under the water.
And I think one of those symbols there should be a symbol of vulnerability. The country that is more vulnerable to America will be hit the hardest.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a method in his madness. People think maybe it is just him plucking numbers out of course, you might not disagree with the calculations or how he came to some of the numbers that he inputted into the formula, but there's a method in his madness. You must give credit where it's due, that it's something that you've got some mathematicians sitting down to actually come up with a formula. So that's what we need for our countries, not to just do things.
It's now making sense. It's now making sense to me, because I think one of the comments that was made about the 50% in Lesotho is actually himself. He said he didn't even know that Lesotho existed, and
no, because he doesn't do these things, you know. He doesn't do these things, you know. He leaves it to those people who do the stuff, you know. This is the good thing about the delegation. They just give him the board with the numbers to announce, but they would have done everything. Those guys who are assigned to do that, because if you remember well, when he was talking of these tariffs, he said, I need each year from the people who are responsible for trade from each government department, to give me these figures by a certain date. So it was being coordinated. It's not something that's just being plugged. Data was already there. It was being pulled from all over the world, and it was already sitting there in American computers. So it was just a matter of placing those figures and coming out. And they did reports to say Lesotho, Zimbabwe, all these, and then they pass on the reports to the president to make his decision.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a method in his madness. It's not just... So these are the lessons that we need to start learning, to say you need to plan for eventualities. Like now, how are you going to respond? You need to find new markets. If the US completely cuts you off, where are you going to find those markets? Yeah, so it shouldn't be about the US alone. We are the biggest, I think, exporter of tobacco to China. So tomorrow, if China wakes up and says they don't want our tobacco anymore, like now, because our president has announced he's accepting, if China is not happy with the stance of our president, it might wake up and say, no more tobacco exports from Zimbabwe to China. Where is your next market? So don't over-reliance on one market, or putting your eggs in one basket is always dangerous. Have always that strategy to say, I'm exporting to China, but in the event that this market doesn't play out, have I got an alternative to this? And always plan for alternative markets.
And also, if China is not happy, they might even withdraw their investment in Zimbabwe.
Exactly. So there's a lot at play. So you need to always be mindful of, we call it strategic thinking, you know. It's game theory. So you always need to be 10 steps ahead of those eventualities.
Right. Shumba, tenge takataura kuti tichagara panapa maminitsi makumi matatu asi tatodarikidza.
I know it's all right, Misha.
Chingopai vateereri shoko rokupedzisira. Maybe you might want to give to the audience and also to the leadership of Africa.
Yeah, so my message is, either it depends how you view it. You can be despondent about what's happening, or this should give you really some positiveness. If the biggest economy in the world can erect barriers, it's also encouraging you to erect barriers. So you can erect those barriers to protect your infant industries. So we can use the same tariffs to say we're not gonna allow foodstuffs to come into Africa, so that our farmers can start dominating the industry. And then the next thing is you can also use that opportunity to build, like I said, to build your own industry. And then you can use that opportunity for inter-Africa trade. Instead of us going all around the world looking for things, let's look what's happening on the continent first. Who is producing what? And we start doing trade amongst ourselves rather than going to China, going to the US, going to India. Let's foster inter-African trade before we go out. And then for the negatives is we are at a time in history where we are being asked to pick a side. I think the wisest of governments will be slime. You need to be very clever how you play the game, because you don't know which horse will win between the two. So you be slime and stay in the middle. Play the two great powers against each other, but remain. Just don't be seen to be in the wrong end of the stick with any of these great powers, because the consequences will be very, very difficult for your people, for your nation and your people. So that's what I can say. We need to take cognizance of as Africans to the impact of these trade wars.
And I think we can take clue from our governments during the Cold War. We seemed to go the non-aligned plan, so that we are not caught in any of the eventualities. So thank you, Shumba, and thank you, viewers, and we will gather again. I think we are going to meet again tomorrow, 8:30 UK time, and it will be 9:30 Central African time. Good night.